What's going on, guys? Welcome to today's video. How do you do it? I'm gonna go on a blooper reel. What's going on, guys? Thank you guys so much for so much guys always, you know. So many guys. There's no women here at all. What's going on, guys? Welcome to today's video, and thank you so much for all the new subscribers. You guys have been absolutely killing it on the subscription button. So all the guys that have been here, make sure you guys give a warm welcome to, I think it's the 300 new of you guys. So if you haven't already, make sure you show your love down below and make sure you click that subscribe button. And if you don't have 3 seconds to learn how to do this modification here, Fiat 500 Abarth, go ahead and just click the cat video to the right or something like that. But if you want to learn how to make your Abarth super fast, stick around for the next 3 minutes and I'll show you exactly how to do so. Let's get into it. All right, so first things first, you're asking what exactly we're gonna install to make this little shoe a little bit faster. So, follow me over here. Can I get a drum roll, please? All right, so I already have the new F muffler on this. This car has a full 2.5-inch exhaust already on it, but it still has the stock downpipe. So it is catted. It is currently suffocating the crap out of the car. So today, we're putting in a catless downpipe. So as you can see here, it comes with 2 holes for your these O2 sensor holes right here. This is going to be earlier years, I believe, and this is going to be later years. So mine is a 13, so mine's going to be using this hole. So what you're going to want to do is you're just going to get a generic O2 sensor plug. This is a screw, and it screws straight in there and plugs this hole because you got to plug it somehow. And then this is where your O2 sensor, your stock one, will go ahead and screw in. But this thing might make the car too loud. I'm kind of nervous. I'll put the exhaust clips at the end of this video. So the exhaust clips will be at the end of this video. Well, we will compare the stock downpipe with a muffler and the catless downpipe with a muffler. And I'm kind of nervous because I think it's going to be absolutely loud, but that's what you guys are here for, right? So let's get into it. All right, so the tools you're going to need for this bit right here, you're going to want an extension. I suggest about yay long. This is a 6-inch extension that's going to go on your 3/8 drive. I hope I can use the impact for most of these, but with the exhaust bolts that are underneath the car, you're going to want to use a wrench just because of the lighter touch. If you go use it in an impact like this, you got a very high risk of breaking the bolts off in the actual exhaust, and then you're screwed. That's no fun. Speaking of broken bolts, make sure you have a Canon PB Blaster. I soaked every bolt that I could see on here that I'm gonna be touching already. I think I'm gonna go ahead under the car in a second and spray the bolts that are under the car that I'm gonna have to touch. But make sure you soak all exhaust bolts in this stuff because, like I said, you don't want this stuff breaking. Next, you're gonna want a 22mm wrench, a 10mm wrench, 13mm wrench. What's this guy right here? 13mm socket. What is this guy right here? I believe this is a 7. Yeah, 7mm socket. 10mm socket. 10mm deep socket. 13mm deep socket. And this tiny boy right here, which is an 8mm socket. I'll put the list of everything down in the description, but I just kind of wanted to go over this with you guys just so you could kind of get a visual of what we need. So if you want to come up here. So what we're going to be taking off, I already soaked this stuff in PB Blasters, you can see, just to be safe, because these bolts right here are very weathered. And you can see my O2 sensor right there off to the side, because like I said, if you have an earlier model like mine's a 2013, the O2 sensor is kind of going to be cocked off to the right. So we're going to be doing on all these bolts right here, this one right here, there's one down here, got a bolt down here, I don't know if you can see that. So right there and right there, there's bolts down there. All right, guys, so first things first, you're going to want to take your 13mm deep socket. Yeah, that's why we soak it in PB Blaster. See, I'm trying to tell you guys. First bolt of the day. Let's see if we can break this guy. It's gonna be a long video, guys. It's gonna be a very long video. Oh my God. Okay, we got it. We got it. Woo! Let's hope I can get these other ones. Let's loosen these ones up, and then I should be able to take the impact to it. God dang, those were tight. Jeez. Okay, that one's loose. It's good. That one's loose. Once again, this is the 13mm deep socket. Now, that, gotta love that. Group all of our bolts on the ground because I do not have a tray. You hate to see it. I don't think, I mean, without the PB Blaster, I don't think that damn thing would have came out. So, with those bolts off, this plate comes off. You love to see it. Keep everything grouped and separated. So next, as you can see here, you got, I think it's 5 bolts. So you got one here, one here, one here. You got one right here, if you can see my hand hitting that. And you got one right here, if you can see my hand hitting that down there. So, judging how stuck those other ones are. So my car, just food for thought, my car has 140,000 on it. And this is very much the original bolts, the original turbo, the original heat shield. So that's why I was adamant on putting the PB Blaster on there, because I knew these were gonna give me hell. So, got a 10mm here, 10mm socket on the wrench, just so I can get a proper torque on these bolts. Luckily, they didn't give me hell, so you'll love to see that. And they didn't break. Those ones were looking so weathered, I was really kind of scared they would break off on me. So I'm very happy. These are coming out very easily. So those are those top 3. So for those awkward 3, you're gonna need a 10mm wrench, preferably with a ratchetable end. Makes it very nice, because in these tight spaces down here, on these tight spaces, you're gonna want to be able to ratchet. If you can hear that.
3 hours later.
Okay, so it's been about an hour and a half because I've been screwing with the same single stripped bolt. Previous owner of this car, turns out, left me a nice stripped bolt. All right, so come over here and look at this. So this is your heat shield. That's gonna be down there, right? It's gonna be on sort of like that. I'm not gonna put it all the way back on, but you got that bolt that you saw that we took off here, here, and here. That's the bolt that goes through here, here, and this one, I believe. So you're gonna take that off, and then you're gonna have a bolt. If you'll see here, see that nut sticking out right there? Can you see that on camera? That I'm hitting with the screwdriver? No. Well, it might be dark for you guys, but there's a nut here, and you'll see it sticking out, a big long stud, and then there's another one here where the screwdriver's going. So that one came out. This one is round. It's supposed to be a 10mm nut and another 10mm nut. These 3 are 13s right here. 13s came out fine, but the 10 came out fine here. The 10 here is stripped. So this heat shield, I bent up out of the way and I had to cut it a little bit, as you can see, so I can move it. And I had to cut it here as well. But this heat shield is gonna come out because it's attached to the heat shield on the downpipe. So after you take care of those screws, you're gonna get a 10mm deep socket on this V-band right here. So this V-band is gonna have to come off. It's pretty awkward, but what you're gonna have to do is you're gonna have to take your 10mm deep socket, and if you follow your finger along the bottom of the V-band, as you can see here, I already rotated it up, but this sits on the bottom of the downpipe. It's kind of awkward, but you gotta get a 10mm deep socket, stick it down there like that. I had her hold the socket on the nut, and then I went under the bottom of the car and ratcheted the wrench. But as you can see here, I kind of rotated it, so now I can loosen it the rest of the way. And I'm gonna tighten it like that too, because I don't want to have to, you know, screw with it again, 'cause it's a very big pain in the ass with how it is under the car. Then you can kind of just shimmy it off to the side. And you're also gonna need, I recommend you get a flathead screwdriver. I'll include that in the parts list. I forgot to do it on the original bit with the tools down there. But you're gonna want this to pop off the V-band a little bit. And also you're gonna see in here, you have a little gasket. I don't know if you can get that on camera, but that little gasket right there, make sure you don't lose that because you're gonna reuse this little gasket. It sits between the downpipe and your turbo. So when you take off the downpipe, make sure that you don't lose that gasket because you're gonna reuse that. So now we're gonna grab our 22mm wrench for our O2 sensor right there. Hope this one doesn't give me as much trouble as the other one. So that was very tight. Okay, so now that we're done with the top of the car, so you got your heat shield out, or if your bolt's stripped like mine, you got it pushed out of the way. It's attached to the heat shield on the downpipe, so it'll come out with the downpipe. You got your V-band loosened, rotated, and off to the side. Remember, you got that little gasket in there that you want to save, that you're going to keep an eye on when the downpipe comes out. And you have your O2 sensor unscrewed from here. Like I said, the earlier models, it'll be off to the side. Mine's a 2013. And if it's a later model, yours will be right here up on the top. Either way, take that out, set that off to the side like that, and you're done up top. Now we got to go to the bottom of the car, so I'll see you guys down there. All right, guys, so as you can see here, we took our 13mm deep socket. Let me grab my light so you guys can see. Took our 13mm deep socket, went ahead and loosened it up. This is going to give us about an inch of headroom. Now, if you can see this, we're going to take our deep socket, loosen up this guy and this guy, which will remove our mid pipe from the downpipe. Now, these ones are pretty corroded because they're the original ones, but I sprayed some PB Blaster on all these bolts, let them sit for about 15 minutes, and as you can see, even though they're the original nuts, they came right off. Ready for this one? Good. That one came off too. After you loosen them up a good bit, you should be able to just go the rest of the way with your fingers. It is very corroded. You can see that boy is rusty. Rusty. So we'll come over here. Just undo this one with our fingers, like that. And now that you have those off, the mid pipe will be loose like that. Alright guys, so as you can see, I went ahead and took the 13mm screw out of here. I couldn't get the O2 sensor out of here. It seems like it's pretty seized, but you might have to take the O2 sensor out. But you'll see with that 13mm bolt out, you can move the mid pipe enough out of the way. This gasket will go ahead and fall out. You're gonna replace that. I'll put the part number for this in the description, but you're gonna put a new one in here. So with this mid pipe out of the way, you can see that it moves all the way to the left. You're gonna take your 13mm again, and this is the only thing holding your downpipe on are these two screws. There we go. You can take your 13s. Jesus Christ. There we go. Got it loose. Now that we have the two bolts out, holding that in, the two studs out, holding that in. Alright, so once you got everything unbolted from the top and the bottom of the downpipe, make sure you have your V-band and your gasket here. That's going to be sitting between there. Make sure you grab that. You're going to hold on to that. You're going to reuse that, so make sure you keep it. Now the downpipe is gonna tilt this way and come out, so I had to take out the battery. So what you have here is you have 3 13mm screws. You have one here, and one here under the battery. And then you make sure you want to take out your 2 ECU plugs. You just pull these yellow things, push the yellow things out, pull them up like that, and they'll unplug. And then you want to take your battery tray out. Like so. I just kind of rotate it off to the side whenever I need to move it, because I don't ever undo this little ground wire that's right here. So we got the downpipe out. It is not a good time to get out through the top. Like I said, you want to get your battery tray up and out of the way, and you really kind of gotta, this stud that you see right here, it's probably gonna get in the way. It got in the way for me. You kind of gotta rotate it out, so you gotta bring it up as far as you can, tilt it to the right as far as you can, and it's gonna pinch the hell out of this cooling pipe. I got the Mishimoto aftermarket cooling pipes, but the good thing I did, because the stock ones would have ripped most definitely. This one got like almost pinched in half, and it looks to be fine. I hope to God it's not ripped. But you kind of got to tilt it to the right as much as you can and twist it this way to get this bolt away from the fan shroud, and then kind of just shimmy it out. But we got it out. So now, time to do everything in reverse, put the new one in. So now that we have the old downpipe out, we're gonna put in the engine catless downpipe. Like I said, we'll see how catless sounds, because from what I've read, it's very loud. But this is that old gasket that I told you wanted to keep. So you wanna go ahead, and it has little ridges on there, if you can see that. It has those little ridges on there. So it'll set right there on that ledge. So what you wanna do is, so you kind of want to set this down in there, and you're gonna set your downpipe where it's supposed to go, like that, and then you'll kind of feel it sit right there. So once it sits there, you can slide your V-band back on, like so. And you can start to tighten your V-band back up. Make sure you put your gasket back in between there. Hold it in place, slide the V-band back on. And I'm gonna leave the V-band rotated up like this just for my own convenience, because why they put it under like that, I have no idea. Oh, maybe it's because of the heat shield. I'm not putting the heat shield back on, just because with the way my nut was stripped, I couldn't get it off. So I'm gonna go ahead and tighten up this V-band just enough to where it holds the downpipe in place. And then we can go back under the car and get everything adjusted on the bottom, but this is literally just to hold it. Make sure that my O2 sensor here, O2 sensor screws in just fine, and that's going to be the 22mm wrench once again, guys. That's going to screw back in, but we'll worry about that later. I'll see you guys underneath the car to line that stuff up. All right, guys, so we're under the car here. As you can see, we're working on getting the mid pipe fastened to the bottom of the downpipe. So normally on the stock one, as you can see, there was studs right here that came out of the OEM downpipe, and you just had nuts that screwed on. This one doesn't have that, and if you look most places online, they'll tell you to buy aftermarket studs, and you'll have a lock washer and a nut that goes on the top, and a lock washer and a nut that goes on the bottom. I didn't get the studs. What I did, I went ahead and found these. Is it focusing on that? Mm-hmm. I went ahead and found these 9/16 bolts. Just put a washer right here. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this.
3 hours later.
All right, so we got everything buttoned back up here. What we ended up doing, we took the 9/16 bolts. I believe they're 3/8 bolts. We got a bolt, a washer, a lock washer, and a nut, and we went ahead and just tightened all those together each side. Like I said, if you're doing this how it's going to be everywhere else on the internet, you're going to have a stud that goes through both of these, and then a nut on either side, and then you'll tighten those together. And that'll be a 13mm here, a 13mm on the other side, and then you'll have your 13mm back in your downpipe. So you want to make sure, or not your downpipe, your mid pipe. So make sure you put the 13mm back in your mid pipe, your two 13s back through your mid pipe into your downpipe, and make sure you tighten the 13s, fastening the downpipe to the frame of the car. Once you do that, you're completely done down here, and let's button up the top, and I'll see you guys once we get that all buttoned up. All right, so one other thing I forgot to mention was between your mid pipe and your downpipe, this is the old gasket that fell out. Make sure you replace this one. Like I said, I'll put the part number down in the description. But when you put your mid pipe back to your downpipe, make sure you put the new gasket in there. I fastened it all the way up and forgot to put the gasket in, so make sure you put your new one in there before you tighten everything up. All right, guys, so we got the battery back in, our V-band's all tight, our plug's all tight, our O2 sensor's tight, we got our turbo bracket back on, got our engine cover back on. Now we'll go ahead and do the startup. That was 3,000 RPM.
That shit's OP loud, bro.
Alright, so we got the downpipe on. Obviously, it is way louder. I'll put the clips of before and after side by side so you guys can hear it, but it is probably 3 times louder. And it's way raspier. So I don't know, I hope it doesn't drone, that's my concern. But once you have it up and going, you can see here, got a little smoke around the O2 sensor, that's fine. Got no smoke coming out by our plug, that's good, that means that's nice and tight. And we got no smoke coming out around our V-band, so that's how you know that's nice and tight. So, like I said before, you want to make sure there's no smoke coming out of any 3 of these holes. If there is, you're going to want to tighten everything up. But yeah, I'm happy with it. Seems to be no seals. Like I said, it's way louder. This took way longer than expected because I had to drill through the mid pipe to make everything fit and everything else. But yeah, I'm happy with it. The next video will be comparing the stats. So I'll be doing 0 to 60 quarter mile times with the Dragy, and comparing that to the old times with this downpipe. So the downpipe is supposed to give you around, I think it's 10 to 15 horsepower, guys say on the forums. So what we'll do is we'll run it with the Dragy and compare that data to see if we're actually getting any extra horsepower results with the downpipe itself. Side note, I did get these sweet SSRs since the last video. 18-inch SSRs that I got on here, authentic Japanese ones. Crazy thing is I fit a 215 tire on there. So with a 215 tire, which I didn't have when I did the Dragy tests last time, I should be able to get a far better launch. And I put 10mm spacers in the front and 5mm spacers in the back, and I don't get any rub with a 215 tire. So with those tires, I should be able to get a way better launch. And with the downpipe, I am very, very excited to see how much faster she is. So thank you guys so much for watching. Please leave a like and a subscribe. This took about 3 times longer than I thought it was gonna take, since we had to drill out holes in the mid pipe to make those bolts fit. But we got it done, and that's what it's all about. So like I said, make sure you leave a like and a subscribe. Comment down below with what you think the next mod should be. And thank you guys so much for joining the channel and watching this video. I'll see you in the next one.